G'day, welcome back to the 40 channel. We need to start getting back on this motor. I've taken a little break off it for a few weeks, just had a heap going on, and I really need to get stuck in here and putting it on. Now, another reason why I've had a bit of a break on it was chasing down the last final bits and pieces. So Welsh plugs, also known as freeze plugs or core plugs, whatever you guys want to call them. For the F135 motor, they actually take the dish style ones, not the cup style ones. So they were actually quite difficult to find. I went to every single auto supplier that I knew of, and none of them could get me what I was after. And there is one guy that has always come through for me. Simon from toyotapat.com.au has always been able to come through for me with those unique little bits and pieces that seem to be a little bit hard to get. And on top of that, Simon has his own YouTube channel. He shares all his little restoration tips on 40 series Land Cruisers, just like me, except you don't have to listen to some bloke ramble on and carry on about stuff. Right, here you go. These are the dish Welsh plugs that seem to be impossible to get, unless you talk to Simon. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it, and hopefully we succeed, and we don't want them to leak. That's the last thing we want. So all I've done is I've just quickly tapped out the holes in the front. I must have missed them when I cleaned everything else up. So I've cleaned out all the housings for the Welsh plugs with a little wire wheel on a drill just from Tool King. Cleaned them all out. They've come up really nice now. I'm going to put a bit of gasket sealant on the inside. We're going to tap them in, and then hopefully tap on the inside with a ballpoint hammer, and they should expand out. 8518. Try and line our cup up best we can. We're going to do a bit of a tap in. With the biggest socket I could find, so I can try to seat it in before we get too carried away. Right, now that it's in there, that's pretty tight, but I need to hit just in the center of this dome, and that should expand out my Welsh plug. Righto, the promising thing about this so far is that as I've tapped that in with the hammer right there in the center of that dish, I can see that the gasket sealant on there has squeezed out. It's really pushed out to the edges as I've tapped it in, so I know that that must be expanding the dish and seating in there. So I'm feeling pretty confident. Righto, now to put the lifter cover on. Now I've just got some little tiny studs here that I've cut the edge of the bolt off. I'm just going to screw them in, and this will help position our gasket and our cover. So we've got the ChemTools gasket sealant on there. With our studs and the gasket sealant, that'll help it all stick onto there. I actually had to make this gasket myself because I didn't buy one, and I thought, well, might as well just make one. Let's put the cover on, the bolts on, and it'll start to look pretty blingy, I think. I've also put gasket sealant on the back of the cover. Now, I painted it red in honour of its old fire truck days. Give it a really good clean up. Sand, still a lot of work, but we'll do the patina and we'll do it as properly as we can. So the patina idea is one that I've been kicking around for some time. That way it keeps the character, it keeps a bit of the history of what it actually was and what it actually did. So, right, let's chuck the fuel pump and gasket on. Righto, now we're just going to do a valve adjustment. Now this is just a preliminary valve adjustment because once it's all finished and get the engine actually running, fingers crossed, hopefully it runs, then we'll do a correct valve adjustment with the engine at temperature. So this is just a basic setup just to get it rough, to give us a bit of a head start later on hopefully. So all I need is a feeler gauge, 17mm spinner and flathead screwdriver. Hold our screwdriver in place and lock that into position. Alright, so we'll chuck the bell housing on, we're just throwing some bolts in, we've used some thread locker. Now, I went and bought myself one of these little suckers, hopefully that makes everything a lot easier. How good is that? Actually get in there and do them up. The flywheel, the clutch plate, and the clutch assembly, all that goes on in here. Now one of these clutch aligning tools are absolutely fantastic. Now these are like a couple bucks. They're plastic, but they line it all up, make it easy. But I didn't film me putting it up, but it is a bit of a struggle. And you put yourself in a bit of a dodgy position under the engine crane. But it's in, so all the bolts are in. Now we can torque them all up. Put the clutch plate on using our little tool. Righto, so I've just put the clutch plate, the clutch mechanism in there, and we're going to just try to do up what bolts we can at the bottom. And then we'll turn the motor over so we can get to the rest of the bolts. Now you might remember, this was extremely difficult to get out because the motor was seized, so we couldn't turn the motor over to get to the rest of the bolts. Unbelievable that I've spent so much time and money on getting this motor completely rebuilt. Will it be worth it? I don't know. Time will tell. Righto, so the motor and the gearbox are in. So a few more little bits and pieces need to go on. The starter motor, we've ordered the rubber for around the clutch fork, little bits and pieces, but pretty much it's finally done. So pretty exciting. It still hasn't been started up. It's been sitting here for some time as we did the Troopy build, a whole lot of other stuff. As you know, the FJ40 is now gone and sold, and the new project has turned up and it's outside that wall, but we're gonna show you that in a different video. So that's really exciting, and I can't wait. But anyway, as you know, we need to crack on with this. This has been sitting here for quite a while. Need to give it the attention and the love it needs so we can get this fire truck back up and running. Righto, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for your support. It's been sensational. We're gonna get back into some builds and some travel. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, until next time, take care of yourselves.